right, back again. This is SETHIKUS, BOZA, Black Earth Productions, Blue Flame, Healing Arts, and Occult Science. And today, I'm speaking with a man who is a legend in the field of research when it comes to the occult, when it comes to philosophy, when it comes to UFOlogy, when it comes to etymology, when it comes to symbolism, when it comes to everything, as we are moving forward in the expansion with this network. And I am very excited to have the mythical legend himself, Jordan Maxwell, here on Black Earth Productions. Jordan, thank you for joining me.
Well, quite all right, and thank you for inviting me.
Awesome, man. There are a number of things that I'm very grateful for the opportunity to be able to dive into with you. My path has led me into creating the platform with Black Earth Productions, with the Blue Flame, Healing Arts, and Occult Science. We are a mystery school and are fully functioning pretty hard now. There are some things that I would like to get into with you in context to the brotherhoods and all things magic. I understand that you had a personal relationship with Manly P. Hall, correct?
That's right, I certainly did.
To start the segment today, there is a quote that I want to share to start diving into things that he wrote in his Secret Teaching of All Ages. And this is what it says. While the elaborate magic of antiquity was not evil, there arose from its perversion several false schools of dark sorcery. Egypt, which was a great center of learning and the birthplace of many arts and sciences, was originally furnished as an ideal environment for transcendental experimentation. From here, certain dark sorcerers of Atlantis covertly exercised their powers and completely undermined and corrupted the morals of the primitive mysteries by establishing a sacerdotal caste, and absurd the position formerly occupied by the original overseers and seized the reins of spiritual government. Thus, dark sorcery dictated the state religion and paralyzed the intelligence and activities of the individual by demanding their complete and unhesitating acquiescence in the dogma formulated by these dark priest classes. In turn, the pharaoh also became a puppet in the hands of the Scarlet Council, a committee of arch sorcerers elevated to power by the dark priesthoods. They further began the systematic destruction of all keys to the ancient wisdom, so that none would have access to the proper knowledge and wisdom necessary to reach true adeptship without first becoming one of their order. They mutilated the rituals of the mysteries while professing to preserve them, so that the neophytes, taking their rites of passage, would never actually secure the knowledge necessary to which they were meant to come into. Furthermore, idolatry was introduced by encouraging the worship of images and symbols, which in the beginning the wise had solely erected for study and meditation. False interpretations were given to these emblems and figures, and elaborate theologies were created to confuse the minds of their devotees. The masses, also deprived of their eternal birthright, were thrown into groveling ignorance and became the abject slaves to these spiritual impostors. Superstition thus prevailed, and dark sorcerers completely dominated national affairs. With this, as a result, humanity still suffers from the effect of all of this, to which the dark priesthood of Atlantis, Egypt, and I'm even going to throw in here Samaria in context, are fully convinced that their scriptures sanctioned it. And it says further here, going a bit later into history, Manly P. Hall says that numerous medieval magicians devoted their lives to the practice of ceremonial magic with Kabbalah, founded upon the ancient and magical formula practiced by King Solomon, who has been long considered by the Jews as the prince of ceremonial magicians. This is where I would like to start getting into things with you. And the very first question that I have in context to all this is, when did this actually start to take place?
Well, that particular quotation from Manly P. Hall was very enlightening, very interesting. I felt that for a long time, that there has been a overshadowing of the world by a dark force that want to mislead and degrade and trick the human race into believing something that's not true, that tricks the spirit. And I have been watching the world slowly but surely unraveling in front of my eyes. I've seen the complete destruction of Western civilization, and I'm also watching now the coming ultimate destruction. We've allowed the Prince of Darkness that tricks the spirit to dominate the planet and every facet of our institutions and every facet of our education, everything. It is all in the hands of the dark spirit. And when you begin to see how religions have been formed in the etymology of the words and terms and the symbols, and connecting Pharaoh with the sun worship of Amun-Ra, connecting up the religions of this world to the Pharaoh religion, is incredible. A classic example of what I'm saying about how well it has been disguised is in the Jewish religion. In all synagogues throughout the world, the single most important symbol in all of Judaism, besides the Star of David, which is not Jewish at all,
Right.
Tetragrammaton. Tetragrammaton is a symbol. All synagogues throughout the world, no matter what country, you'll always see in a synagogue the sunburst. You'll see a full sun with the spokes around the sun, which is the sun's glory. And you will see inside the sun on all altars in all Jewish synagogues, you will always see the name of God that the Jews use. 4 Hebrew letters inside the picture of the sun. Tetra means 4. Gramma means a letter. Tetragrammaton, the sun god of Egypt. And of course, Christianity is based directly on sun worship. The Messiah in Christianity is referred to as God's son.
Could you say that this actually goes back to the black sun consciousness?
Yeah. The black sun consciousness goes back to the planet Saturn. Saturn is involved in this also.
Right.
Saturn was referred to as the original sun for the Earth and for all humans. The original sun was the planet Saturn. That's another whole story we could talk about another time.
Right. I've heard that mentioned before by a few.
Yeah. The point is that Jesus is referred to as God's son. Well, of course, the sun is the light of this world. What else lights our world if it's not the sun? You will find in the English language, if you go back to the original English as it was being developed during medieval times, being put together as a designer language, they had something in the English language referred to as the lazy O. Was a phenomena that was discovered as they were translating words into English for us in the English language. They began to find that the word sun could be spelled either way, and it didn't make any difference. It's still talking about the same thing. The S-U-N that comes up in the morning in our English language is S-U-N. But in the German language, English is Low German, but in High German, the original German, the sun is spelled S-O-N, God's son, the light of the world. It's called the lazy O because you will read in the history books that translators realize that it could be spelled either way, with a U or an O.
Look what they've done to flip the narrative in context to religion with just that one word.
Oh, gosh, yeah.
On top
Lord,
of
yes.
everything else they've done to twist our language. That's just one word. And look what it accomplished in context to the rise of the dark priest class.
Exactly. And who owns the sun? And there's only one sun, the only begotten sun. You know, there's a lot of stars out there, but we only have one sun. It is the light of the world. The earth will freeze over if there is no sun, and there'll be no life on the earth.
Right.
Life is energy, and the sun is pure energy. So the ancient peoples realized that the sun was nothing but pure energy, and it's giving its energy to our solar system. And the energy coming from the sun, the light of the world, causes your plants to grow, your food to grow, and for you to grow. Keeps the earth warm and keeps life going. And so once you begin to see how this general idea of light is a great fire in the sky, the sun is a great fire in the heavens. What I'm saying is that this whole idea of sun worship goes back to the most ancient of times. They realized that the most important symbol in all of heaven was that.
Just look at what they're doing in context to Operation Iron Sky with the chemtrails, trying to block out the energy.
Yeah, that's part of the system we live under, operating on the idea of completely destroying the whole human family on the earth.
This is exactly what I see going on, Jordan. And this last week, I went into a complete and total rage over this, man.
Yeah.
Because dealing with the contrast, knowing the difference, you're talking about the sun. I've mentioned this many, many times on my platform. Until humanity recognizes that the heavens above are within us, we're not going to evolve. We think we're evolving because we know about what's going on, but we don't even know how to navigate consciousness in context to what I term solar spiral creation. And the sun here in context is a reflection of that which is within.
That's right.
The central sun, that which is within the core of the earth, is also a reflection of what is within. So there's the solar spiral, and sun, taking it into the art and science of astropsychology, this represents hardcore intelligence. This represents the will force of mankind.
Yep.
And in reflection to what I just mentioned about Operation Iron Sky, this is one of the major ways that they are eclipsing the true intelligence that's there to be tapped into. But in context to religion, going back to this quote by Manly P. Hall, when the masses were encouraged to worship the images of these symbols, which in the beginning the wise had solely erected for study and meditation. False interpretations in context to religion were then given to the emblems and figures of the mysteries, and elaborate theologies were created to confuse the minds of their devotees. And it's still the same today. Individuals out there are still buying into this.
People will believe whatever they choose to believe, whatever they wish to believe. People will support what they want.
Right.
They're not going to support what they don't. And so people will always support the restaurant that they like to eat at. They will not support a restaurant where they don't like. And so that's why most people will not support truth.
Why are people so resistant?
You come into this world and you accept everything. You look to the adults to teach you and to take care of you. You learn what you can do and what you can't do. Acclimated, you learn and you go to school. There are certain people who are in charge and you have to listen to them. And so after a while, after you've been here for about 20 years, you finally have grown into a pattern of life that you accept authority, you accept what you're told, you accept the idea of doing what you were given to do, and you don't ask any questions, you don't question anything, you just go along and do what everybody else does.
Right.
And that way you will always have friends, and you do what your friends do. The Boy Scouts, the Girl Scouts, church, synagogue, the Masonic Lodge, all kinds of little group meetings where people like to get together and be friends.
All these little subcultures. And this is like clockwork. And I see the mind control. I started to recognize it when I was very young, and it never fully worked with me. That's the thing here. When it comes to my personal path work and everything I've come into, it never worked with me. And there are other individuals that it didn't work with.
Well, you're talking to one.
Right. and you've been in this since
1959.
Right. Since even before I incarnated. And so going back to what you were saying, you witnessed the decline moving into everything that's unfolding. No wonder you've done what you've done.
I'm the teacher. I'm just a man pursuing extraordinary knowledge. I'm not here to make light of anyone. That's not what I am doing. The work I do is as a teacher, to tell people where things come from. direct them to where to go to look up the information that they are guiding their life on.
Right.
And so I want people who are guiding their life on their religious beliefs to know where those beliefs have come from. And if your belief system is just that, a belief system that you believe, it doesn't mean that it's real. It doesn't mean that it's factual. It just means that that's what you believe. I wanted to help people to realize that there's a difference between believing something and knowing the factual foundations for whatever it is. That's the difference.
There's a quote that I want to share in light of that, given by one of my indirect mentors. He said, "We must delete what we believe to be real in order for what is real to be revealed."
Yeah.
So this whole process of taking the rites of passage here in context, in light of the original teachings when it comes to the ancient mysteries, when it comes to the mythos, when it comes to all of these arts and sciences, when could you say that this actually started to take place?
That's very difficult because we're talking about an incredibly, unbelievably long history that the Earth has gone over. The Earth has been around for a long, long time. And highly intelligent life has existed on this earth for billions of years. I'm totally convinced that for billions of years, with a B, billions of years, there have been highly intelligences on this earth. The coming of the human family, many, many countless thousands of years ago, we were part of our hardware, hardwired into humans, was the idea that there's a higher power in the universe we have to show honor to. The word God today in English is simply dog spelled backwards. A long time ago, somewhere in ancient history, and when I say ancient history, I mean a long time ago, millions of years ago, somewhere there was a time when we, as we are today, did not exist. Extraterrestrials came here from another place in the universe, and when they came here, they confronted what we are. And somebody came here from another world and saw the indigenous creatures, and they said to themselves, when these extraterrestrials got here, they saw us, and they said, "Come, let us make man in our image, after our likeness." That's where Christians and Jews get all mixed up. They think the Bible says God created man. It doesn't say that. I've had rabbis tell me there's no place in the Bible where God said he made man. God did not make man. But let's remake him to look like us and be like us. Let's make man in our image after our likeness. The word man in Hebrew is ish, I-S-H, can be singular or plural for man, but that's not what it says. It doesn't say ish. It says Adam, A-D-M. Let us make Adam in our image after our likeness, not ish. Ish is already here.
Mm-hmm.
So therefore, when the extraterrestrials got here, Ish is already on the earth. Now that doesn't tell us where Ish came from. Ish is man. Man was already here. God didn't make man. He made Adam, a different kind of creation.
So in context to that, the rise of these dark priest class was a part of that in terms of consciousness, energy, frequency, vibration.
And that priest class was based on
humans actually get pulled into the Tesseract, into the gridworks of the Ouroboros, and then that's where these dark ones are ruling from. The way it branches out into the world, all the different tentacles of Cthulhu, is what continues to rule our world in context of the unconscious, subconscious mind field. What is it going to take, Jordan, for individuals, this whole dynamic, these wars took off millions of years ago, is still happening right this moment?
It sure is.
What's it going to take?
Well, I don't know that it's ever going to happen. We were set on a wrong road a long time ago. Many thousands of years ago, we took a wrong road. We were misled by somebody who has a mind to us, we humans, and they set us on a wrong road. And we've been getting larger and more multiples and peoples on the earth till now we got 7.5 billion people on the earth who collectively have got an IQ of about 40. I don't think the human family has in it what we need. I have felt for so many years, going and trying to do what I am doing, trying to educate. I'm trying to get people to think and to question things. And I feel like I'm trying to empty the Pacific with a cup.
Right. It does feel like that.
Yep. Nobody cares as long as their belly is filled with food and they've got cold beer and they've got entertainment, they've got their computer games and their ball games and football and baseball and tennis ball.
That's a part of the sorcery, all the distractions.
Yeah.
All of the pulling on the energy bodies of individuals, breaking out energy to fuel line their grid works.
You're right. As long as the people have food in their belly and their games, they got their entertainment and their food, they don't want to hear the truth. They just want to see that they are taken care of and they got what they want to live. They don't need to know nothing. Drinking their beer, they've always done it all over the world and they're still doing it. People never want to change. Therefore, the actual truth is only for those people who want to know. Very few people really want to know. And keep in mind that the people around you that you live with every day wanted to know how the world really worked and wanted the real truth. They would be researching it and telling you about it. But they're not researching anything and they're not telling you anything. Why are they not telling you anything? Because they don't know nothing. They don't care to know nothing. They don't read anything. They don't question anything. They're not interested in anything of any spiritual or intrinsic value. They only want to know what time the ball game comes on.
There's the courage factor as well, because when you do put yourself out there like you have, you come up against that contrast. You come up against that gnashing of teeth. You come up against that rejection. I have memories of our kinds being burned at the stake, which memories I had to heal through. And changing my tactics, I used to go out into the world and try to talk to people that didn't give a shit about any of this kind of stuff. And I thought that's how I had to do it. When I realized I don't have to do it like that, I can create a platform. And then those that want to know, they're going to find people like you, but they don't understand fully what they're getting into. And this dynamic that I'm touching upon with you today, as far as I'm concerned, one of the most important factors in context here, because it all goes back to the war of the brotherhoods. On the highest levels in this reality field, I am directly involved in this dynamic and have been for a very long time. And so when I was going through these experiences, I was looking up books on UFOs and the gods and all this other stuff when I was in kindergarten, man. There was no other children looking at this stuff. There was something there within me as far as what I get into when it comes to blood code consciousness. This is the ancestors. And this is one of the major themes of initiation with our school, going into the ancestry, going into the codes and discovering what's actually there. And in light of all of this, as far as what I've learned to discover, not just but personal experience, but doing research and study, this is what it all goes back to on the highest levels.
There's no doubt in my mind how the human race got off the track because of secret societies. Very powerful people from our ancient history who were probably not fully human.
And this is what they wanted to harvest. This is what they wanted to take for themselves, because ultimately they don't even have the ability that we do. And so they're doing everything they can to suppress those codes from activating. And this is the war. This is the war of dragons. This is the war of the wisdom councils and the dark priest class.
And if you go back to Europe before the Roman Empire even existed, in the north, east, west, and southern Europe, which gives us our word today, news, N-E-W-S. Europeans came to North America thousands of years ago, Druids, Celtic Druids. druids. And the most important symbol in the druid civilizations of Europe was a magic wand. The magician. Magic wands were the symbol of the ancient European people. And magic wands were always made out of the wood of a holly tree. It's made out of Hollywood. Hollywood is a catchphrase creating and promoting all kinds of demonic depravity around the world, and the whole world is lying in the power of the wicked one. With the human sacrifice, blood sacrificing babies and children, and blood rituals, and all kinds of dark stuff going on in Hollywood. Murder and all kinds of strange stuff going on.
You could say the manipulation of the true magic.
Yep. So there's a real, legitimate, de jure magic. Has nothing to do with what's on film and what you're seeing in a movie. No, there's another kind of magic. A very high form of magic. The world has taken a turn like a disease perpetuating many hundreds of thousands of years. The same people who have given us all the bull crap and lies and treachery and misunderstandings and religions and government, you're not going to get the truth from them because they don't have any truth. All they know is what they do. And you cannot fix a situation with the same people who created it. They don't care about the human family. They don't care about decency and honor. They just care about controlling the whole damn world.
Aren't these the values that need to be re-encrypted? Again, this is how I live my life. A lot of our students taking the rites of passage, the true rites of passage, which I want to get into here in a little bit. Once you cross a certain threshold, there is no going back.
Yeah, once you've seen it, you cannot unlearn it. The people of this world have been taught not to think. That's the problem today. Most people cannot handle the truth. They don't want the truth. They're not interested in the truth. They're interested to hear what they want to hear and what they want. They're not interested to hear what they don't want to hear.
Right. Touching upon the true alchemical rites of initiation with truth itself as the master. People need to understand why there is no way around this and why we need, as individuals, as humanity, the real to complete what the original overseer sanctioned before all of this took place. And I know the wisdom councils existed. This war, going back to the dynamic with what you're talking about with the Druids, all of the ancient animist traditions. I'm very connected to the Nordic tradition, as well as this one, the main with the Druids. It's an art and science. It's not gods and goddesses to be worshipped and bowed down to and made sacrifice to, like all of the things that were implemented when all of these wars and inquisitions and takeover of the grid works and the ley lines and the lands was starting to really take the fuck off, middle of the 1st century, correct?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And peak of the age of Pisces is when the Dark Ones officially completely took over this fucking reality field about 3,500 years ago. It was a build-up until then, but it was official.
Been coming for a long time, that's right.
I can see the trajectory. We're in the age of Aquarius now. We have officially crossed that threshold. So we're in a race right now, as far as I'm concerned, going into 2025, 2028, where we have a window of time. You've spoken with thousands upon thousands of people throughout your career as an occult scholar. And there's a lot more that I want to get into with you. At the moment, though, I'm going to take this segment into a break. This is SETHIKUS BOZA, Black Earth Productions, here with Jordan Maxwell. We'll be right back after the break. And we are back now from the break, as I inserted an opus that greatly illustrates the dynamic of much of what me and Jordan Maxwell have been getting into so far. And so now to take it even further, for all of you that have the ears to hear and look even deeper into for yourselves, we're now going to pick things up where we left off. In light of the alchemical rites of passage, share with me a little bit of your insights as far as what may have actually been here before the Dark Ones started to really take over this reality field.
There seems to be something of real value in the book of Genesis about the creation, but as I said, the scriptures do not say that God created man.
So you could agree that humanity was here long before any of this happened?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. I say hundreds of thousands of years ago, the earth was crawling with life forms far, far wiser and far more intelligent than we are today. Far more than the best we have today on the earth. Our best minds today couldn't hold a candle to what was here on the earth, building pyramids and temples, and in the oceans of the world are pyramids and temples.
So all of that, as far as the megaliths and everything, was here before. We were the ones that created it, not these Dark Ones. What would you say are the connections between Atlantis and Egypt?
I think Atlantis was probably one of the most important stories, is the destruction of Atlantis. When we read about the flood, you're talking about Atlantis. Go back and do some homework on the story of Atlantis, and you'll see it's the same identical story about the flood of Noah's day. I've heard all the philosophers around the world and what they talk about, and Atlantis is always the bottom line.
Yeah.
An ancient civilization that was highly technical, highly brilliant minds, but they created a horrible world of nothing but technology. But
that's what's happening right now. Again, it's the same fifth cycle, the Atlantean cycle that we've been caught in.
You're right. That's exactly right.
And it's coming back in trajectory on the timelines. And that's why I feel the blood codes of the ancestors are starting to awaken. That's why there's such a surge of people that are being drawn to the animist tradition, the true tradition of humanity, which connects to
the most ancient teachings.
Right?
Yep.
The real war that's taking place is within the blood. It's within the soul code. Soul code genetics in context is everything to do with grid works of consciousness on what I term the galactic spiral creation. So when people talk about Orion, Pleiades, Andromeda, all these other star systems, again, the humanity recognizes that the heavens above are within us and we're not going to evolve. And the play out of this dynamic is something that people are horribly, horribly, horribly unaware of.
Yeah, well, the whole human family on the earth is totally, completely unaware of the actual, in fact, history of the earth itself, the truth about the history of the earth and where we humans have actually come from. We are only taught what we're supposed to know to earn a living. What to do with the screwdriver and how to put the tire onto the car and how to do this and how to do that. We're just taught how to earn a living. We're not taught how to think or how to understand anything. You just shut up, do your job, get paid, and eat, and be happy you got something to eat and watch television.
And that's the slave state of mind.
Yeah, and stay out of the way of the masters who are running this planet. Don't even try and figure it out. You don't do nothing. You just do what you're told. And it's called the golden rule.
Isn't the real goal that they're working to harvest the gold of consciousness?
Yes, the goal is us. They send us out.
They're just breaking out that energy.
Yeah.
To fuel on their grid works like I'm talking about. Excellent. Yeah, that's absolute confirmation.
They control everything by putting us in unions, like a painters union, a carpenters union. They control our labor through unions. The whole idea of a union is Soviet communism.
in light of that, this is something that a lot of people don't understand in hindsight here. Could you share a little bit with me the New Dawn agenda? Because nobody talks about New Dawn agenda, man.
Nobody talks about it because nobody knows about it.
I know about
I've been talking about it for some 50 years. This
Yeah.
whole idea of a new dawn, dawning of a new day. If you understand what's being said, it has to do with the sun coming up in the morning as the dawn.
Right.
Therefore, ultimately, we're talking about the sun being the light of the world. You're in the dark and you don't get it. But when you finally do, oh, I see what you're saying. It just dawned on me.
Right.
What do you mean it just dawned on you? It means the sun finally broke on the surface and now you can actually see what's going on. You were in the dark before, but now the sun has finally come up and now you can begin to see for the first time all the stupidity and the stuff you didn't know was in the dark. But now it's finally dawned on you. What I'm saying is that you need to get the light. The light is in your mind. And so the whole story is a war between light and darkness, the truth and Hollywood.
You think about the power of that sigil, the sun itself, what it actually represents. They can put it onto anything and drive an agenda while that sigil, which is inverted, is playing upon the codes that are there within the unconscious, subconscious mind field. Correct?
Yeah, you're right. That's exactly right. Plays on your unconscious mind. And this is why all over the world and every country, all man-made institutions, almost all of them will use the sun as a symbol on badges of the police department, sheriff's department, military, industrial, companies, corporations.
Yeah, the star badge.
They always use the sun.
The badge of Babylon.
That's it. And so that's why God's Son is King of Kings and Lord of Lords, because all kings and lords and governmental agencies, all the kings of the earth, use the sun as a symbol.
Now you mentioned Egypt and how the symbolism goes back to Aton. And this goes back to the black sun cult of Set, which is Atonism.
That's exactly right.
Which goes even further back in context to the wars between Samaria and Egypt after the fall of Atlantis, with the inversion of light, Amun-Ra. And see, Amun and Ra were originally separate archetypes. And the word Amun literally means the hidden one. So that which has been hidden, that which has been made occult, that which has encrypted itself within the unconscious, subconscious mind field in context to this distortion. The archetype Ra simply means sun. So when this happened, another way of interpreting Amun, this was in context to the quote-unquote creator, and then Ra was the archetype for the sun. So Amun-Ra is a result of the merging of these two archetypes in order to give them a new meaning. As far as I'm concerned, has nothing to do with the true light of proper knowledge and wisdom. This quote-unquote creator God goes back to the beings that came to earth in order to create man who was already here in their image, so that their image can be worshipped, can be given energy to, so that the light or gold of consciousness can be harvested to fuel them their grid works.
Yeah, you're right.
At the same time, though, it didn't start in Egypt. When the wars among the brotherhoods broke out in Egypt, the cause point for it goes back to what was encrypted with the Sumerian Draconian Empire. Wouldn't you agree that all of this that we have been talking about in this segment goes back to the cult of Mithras, the rise of Atonism in Egypt with the Sumerian Draconian Empire?
Oh, of course it does. Of course it does.
You could also throw the cult of Dagon into that as well.
This whole idea of the cult of Mithra is the basis for Christianity today. Christianity comes from Mithraism. In the Roman Empire, there was a religion in all of Rome, and the religion of the Roman Empire was Mithraism. Mithra was referred to as God's son, the light of the world, the 12 tribes of Israel. And the Bible is filled with all the 12s, 12 this, 12 that.
Yeah, and you're one of the main individuals that really came out to the fact that everything that's in that book goes back to astrotheology.
Yep, and so all the religions of the world rely on astrotheology, a hidden symbols. Religious concepts are all based on astrotheology.
Right, and see, in context to the Roman Empire, Amun-Ra was worshipped with the Greeks as Zeus Ammon, Zeus Aton. And what is Jupiter? Jupiter is the fire magician. Jupiter is the expansion of awareness. And this is how the Dark Ones, in context to religion, were able to seal off the stargates of consciousness that we need to access in order to navigate reality.
Right.
And then they demonize the art and sciences.
I know. It's an extraordinary.
They call you a witch, or they call you evil, or they call you demonic.
Yep.
And it's all inverted.
Yep.
While at the same time, they're hoarding that knowledge and using it against us on a daily basis so that we don't know how to navigate the solar spiral of creation in context to planetary high magic. And this is one of the main things that the original progenitors of Earth knew in their connection to nature and their connection to the universe and connection to themselves and what is truly there, as within, as without, which is the exact same thing as the as above, so below. And see, this is where you start. There's a lot more that comes with this, but they get us right out of the fucking gate in context to everything that we've been getting into. Now, with what you mentioned to the cult of Mithra, this is all of the monotheistic religions in context, again, to what you were saying, in worship to their star god, which is Saturn, their sun, correct?
That's right. In Egypt was Set, S-E-T. The prince of darkness, sun Set. Government, religion, banking, military, education, all of the institutions on how to control human society on the earth, all based on ancient Set, sun worship, and occultism, and done in such a way that people have no idea in the world how they have been misled. And they have no idea in the world how the world really works.
What I come up against in contrast, why are you so angry all the time? Why are you so hateful? And it's like, motherfuckers, if you actually knew what I knew, you would understand why I'm acting the way that I do.
The only people who believe in the system that we live under are the people who have never experienced it. You need to experience, because when you find out what's really actually going on and you experience it for yourself and they lie on you and steal everything you've got, now you know what we are talking about. But until such time, most people will never understand why. Just drink your beer and watch your ball games and shut up and don't read nothing, don't think about nothing, and don't worry about the world.
Right, man. And see, I can't stand that attitude. To me, it's absolute fucking cowardice to not give a shit, to just accept things as they are, live your life as a fucking slave, eat your salt and fucking gruel, whatever the hell is being served to you at the trough. See, I can't fucking do that. I'm not going to live like that. Just like you mentioned, I've had everything ripped away from me. I know what it's like to be thrown out into the fucking wilderness, going through all these crazy supernatural experiences, hardcore initiation into the truth of what is going on, rising up out of the ashes like the phoenix, coming into alignment, and then taking the opportunity as a cosmic responsibility to let other people know what the fuck is going on. If I didn't, the repercussions that would come on me, especially after knowing, I'm going to end up worse than people that don't even fucking know, knowing the difference. So as an encouragement to anyone listening to this segment right now, it's going to be better for you to face the gauntlet than not to, because there is a level of protection when you are in alignment. When you're not in alignment, you just sit and duck for these motherfuckers.
I think it was Winston Churchill made an interesting statement, which was very true. Most people in this world will once in a while have something really extraordinary happen to them that knocks them over, something otherworldly, some sort of a strange occurrence that will knock you over. But most people will get up, brush themselves off, and go about their way and don't even think about it. They don't even remember them, why and what it means. Nothing is what you think it is.
What have been some of your personal experiences in context to supernatural phenomenon taking place in your own
Oh,
life?
heavens. I could talk for the next 8 to 10 hours about my experiences that nobody's going to believe.
Right. Just to touch upon a few.
Well, I've had so many strange experiences in my life that are not of this world that I don't have any problem relating to this kind of a lifestyle. Seeing things and hearing things and experiencing things that other people do not even know exist. It's been my life for many years. Since I was a child, I've always had these strange things happening to me. And so I have become aware at a very early age. When I was like 8 or 9 years old, I became very well aware that the world is not what you think it is. That there's a lot of stuff going on all around you you don't see. You're not aware of, and you don't know anything about it, but it's happening all around you. Some people call it demonism, spirits, ghosts, poltergeists, sons of God, jinn. There's all kinds of words for the spirit world. I knew a long time ago as a child that there is a spirit world, and it's operating all around you. As above, so below. Whatever the spirits are doing in the heavens, you're going to feel it on the earth. As above, so below. I know all the strangeness that's happening to us humans is all part of some all-encompassing spiritual world that we live in. And I'm well aware of how it works. I've seen too much, and I have had too many experiences that teach me and have shown me in my face that there's a spirit world all around you. You just don't see it. And that's misleading you because you're too ignorant and ill-informed to understand it. I've seen it. I know where we're going. I know where we've come from. I know where we are now, and I can tell you where we're going. It's very difficult for me to help people to educate themselves because most people have never learned how to read. They don't know how to think. They just do what everybody else does, so everybody will like you.
Right.
I prefer not to have any friends if I have to go along with them.
Because you would be compromising the integrity of the essence of who you are. That's in alignment with truth.
That's right. I don't want to be around a crowd. I don't want to be in the crowd. I don't want to be around large groups of people. I go the other way.
Right. Going back to my question, though, what could you say was one of the most profound supernatural experiences that you could share with us?
Well, in Los Angeles, I had a young friend come to visit me from Las Vegas, and he and I were invited to go to a friend of mine's home in the mountains of Los Angeles. And we crawled up on the roof one night. Stars were out. We were sitting up there talking, and for some reason, pointed up into the sky. And I said, if you can hear me, let a meteorite hit this mountain. And I pointed to the mountain next to me. And where I was pointing, a meteor came out of the sky and hit that mountain exactly where I was pointing. Precisely where I was pointing, the meteorite hit the mountain. And I was shocked, and so was my young friend. And everybody on the mountain, the lights went on in everyone's home to see what just happened, what hit this mountain. It was an extraordinary experience, but that's the kind of thing that had happened to me.
Sounds like the working of wizards to me.
Yeah, it was a frightening and strange and frightening experience.
What was the cause point for you to say, okay, I'm going to cross this threshold. There's no going back for me. I know too much. Now I'm going to start sharing. What was the boiling point for you?
I came to California from Florida. In 1959, I ended up in Los Angeles, and I met a girl She lived on the same street I did. I only lived about 2 blocks from downtown, just north of the city of Hollywood, North Hollywood. I was 19 years old, and I met a girl. She lived on the same street I did, but she lived a couple of blocks further. She lived like 4 blocks from town. I lived 2, but we're on the same street. And so we started meeting on Saturdays, and Sundays we'd meet in town and hang out. So one night, on a Friday night, she came over to my place about 10 o'clock at night, and she knocked on the door, and I came to the door, and she said, "My dad wants to talk to you." And I said, "I'm not interested to talk to your father at all." And she said, "Yeah, I got nothing to say to him." And she said, "My father is a very important man. He's got something he wants to tell you. So you need to come with me." I thought that sounded interesting. So I said, "Okay." So I went with her. We walked for a couple of blocks to her house, which was the first time I'd ever been there. And when we were walking up, her father happened to be coming out of the house. And when I first saw him, the hair raised up on the back of my neck because I knew there was something strange about him. I just felt it. He motioned for us to come in, so we did. We went in the house. The father and I sat on a sofa, and my girlfriend and her younger sister sat on the floor. He was just making small talk, asking me if I was working and how I liked living in North Hollywood, etc. And so I was feeling a lot better about him, although I knew there was something about this man that didn't make sense to me. I was feeling it. He was being very kind to me. He said to me, "Remember back when you were in Florida, when you were about 8 years old, your dad built a new back porch? You remember when your dad built a new back porch?" And that scared me. I didn't know what to say because he was right. I was about 8 years old when my dad built a new back porch, and that scared me. And he said, "Did that happen or didn't it?" I said, "Yes." And he says, "Remember one night you were supposed to be in bed after the new back porch was built, and you got up and you went out in the back porch, and the moon was full, and you sat on the back porch in the full moon, and the moon was very bright." And I was really scared because I don't know what is going on. This guy is telling me stuff that nobody would know. Mm-hmm. And I didn't know what to say. And he said, "Well, did you do that or didn't you?" And I said, "Yes, I did." And he said, "And what did you say to God?" "Let me tell you what you said. You said that you wanted to live your life to have a purpose. You wanted to do something important. You weren't happy just to be here, but you wanted to do something important. Is that what you said?" That's what I said. And he said, "Well, how do I know these things?" I said, "I don't know how you know." And he said, "Well, I know because we were there. We heard you." And I said, "What are you talking about? We were there." And he said, "Well, you didn't see us, did you?" I said, "I saw no one." He said, "That's right. We saw you. You didn't see us. So we brought you here. Why did you come to California?" And I said, "I don't know. I just had to come." And he said, "That's right. I brought you here. What we have for you to do, you will not do to the very last part of your life. Don't worry about what it is. You'll find out when it comes time. You will know." And then he said to me, "You are very interested in UFOs and aliens and all that kind of subjects, aren't you?" And I said, "Yes, I am." And he said, "I know because we've been watching you, and we know that you're very interested in UFOs." He said, "Would you like to see some UFOs up close tonight?" And I said, "Yes, I really would." And he said, "Come with me. I can do that for you. That much I can do. So come with me." Some 60 years ago. And he looks up into the sky, inaudibly talking. His mouth is moving, but you can't hear him. And then he turns around and he looks at me and he says, "They said that they're coming and they'll be here in about 2 minutes. And they're coming from a mountain," because we were in the valley. And I said, "Who?" And he said, "You said you wanted to see UFOs, right?" "Yes." And sure enough, about 2 minutes later, 3 glowing disc-shaped things, making no sounds whatsoever, came from over that mountain that he had pointed to. And they came right over our heads, and all three of them were circulating on the bottom of the thing. It was a round saucer shape. All three were circulating different color lights, and it was circulating the colors, and they were absolutely gorgeous. I now know that they were laser colors, and the colors were absolutely astoundingly brilliant. I stood there looking at them because they sat right over the top of our heads. I looked at him, and he's looking at me, and my girlfriend was looking at me. She wanted to see how I was going to react to what was going on. And then he said to me, "They're very pretty, aren't they?" I said, "They're beautiful." I said, "What are they?" And he said, "That's us."
It's interesting what you just said, that he said, "This is us." And there were three of you standing there.
Yeah. He said, "That's us."
Wow. Wow, man. That just took me into some major confirmation as far as what's been revealed to how things actually work here in context.
Yeah. He said that's us. People will hear you. Don't worry about who's to listen to you and who isn't.
Powerful.
Yeah, and so that's where I got the idea that whatever you're doing, don't worry about who's hearing you. Do what you do. If somebody's supposed to hear you, they will.
Right. For those to whom it's meant.
You
So
just
being a
need to-
teacher of the things that you've presented over the years, coming into the position I have myself with being a teacher, it's very difficult to be a teacher here.
Yeah, tell me about
One
it.
of the main things I deal with as a teacher is constantly having to cultivate patience.
Yeah, talking to audiences, giving lectures, speaking at conferences, writing books, radio, and been in motion pictures and movies.
What could you say is one of the main messages that you have been wanting to get across in over the last 6 years?
In 1967, I was in Glendale, California. I've been researching and reading and studying and teaching, and I was looking up something to do with communism. And I knew about the religion of communism. I was looking something up in the World Book Encyclopedia. And in the World Book Encyclopedia, under communism, it had a picture of the coat of arms.
This is all very, very powerful. And in light of what I was getting into with you in context to the Red Dawn agenda, this is something I think we should get further into. I'm going to go ahead now and pull this segment into another break. This is SETHIKUS BOZA, Black Earth Productions. We will be right back. Now, again, from our second break, this is SETHIKUS BOZA, Black Earth Productions, here with Jordan Maxwell, and to the lyrics of the opus I just inserted into the segment. Saturn comes back around, lifts you up like a child, or drags you down like a stone to consume you until you choose to let this go. Choose to let this go. Give away the stone. Let the oceans take and transmute this cold and faded anchor. Give away the stone. Let the waters kiss and transmute these leaden grudges into gold. Let go. The New Dawn agenda is unbelievably in our faces right now. This is something that I'm going to encourage our listeners to really start looking into more. And there are some greater insights into all this that Jordan Maxwell is going to continue to get into with this segment.
The coat of arms was a rising sun behind the earth with a Roman reef from the Roman Empire, Roman reef around the earth with the sun rising. And I had seen that symbol so many times before. The fascists have used it, the communists have used it.
They're still using it, man.
Everybody has used that same identical symbol. But when I saw it there, it gave a little 2 or 3 sentences telling you what it meant. The fascists of Europe used it. Churches and religious organizations, cults, secret societies, Masonic orders, all kinds of groups of peoples around the world have been using the same identical symbol, but it never struck me until I read what it said about that symbol. And upon reading what the interpretation of that sun rising behind the earth meant, it finally hit me. I see why and what it means, and the implications were frightening that nobody sees it. Type in on the web the communist coat of arms.
I just pulled it up. It's the hammer and sickle covering the entire earth.
With the sun rise behind the earth, and then there's a star above, and then there's a Roman reef of wheat around the earth.
What does wheat represent? This is the immersion of any sort of healing or awakening in consciousness into that global hive mind, fuel lining the grid works of the Dark Priest class. The black star, the black sun.
Well, when I first saw that symbol, I had seen it so many times before, but never actually thought very deeply about it. I just saw it over and over and over again since 1959 when I started doing this. When I finally saw the explanation in the World Book Encyclopedia, it blew my mind. I thought, my God, I now see it. The sun represents the rise of communism all over the world. And the sun was referred to as, quote, the dawn of the new day. There it is. The symbol means the dawn of the world of communism.
Black sun rising, man.
That's right.
I'm glad we're touching upon this because there's not many people that have talked about the New Dawn agenda, man. So
it's incredible.
That's major confirmation.
Yep. It's everywhere on the earth. And of course, Khrushchev, many years ago, back in the 50s, was ranting and raving at the United Nations. And he said to America, one day we're going to consume you. We're going to take over America. And we will take over the whole world, and nobody will ever see it. Nobody will catch on. Nobody will understand it. That's what Khrushchev said. And we'll wake up one day in a world communist movement around the earth, and your country will be a fully communist government, and you will never see it coming. And I'm thinking that's precisely right. That's what we have today in America, is a communist system. And we are so ignorant and ill-informed and unread. I've spent 60 years studying this subject, while everybody who mocks me and laughs at me and makes fun of what I'm saying has not studied the subject for 60 minutes. I've studied it for 60 years.
They have no stance or say as far as I'm concerned, because I can see it too.
Yeah, well, it's an incredible subject.
Right.
And once you see it, it's connected behind the scenes to everything in your life. I see my country that I was born and raised in, where my parents worked so hard, and they're gone, and my brother's gone, the whole family is gone, they've all passed away. I now see my whole country and all my friends and all the people who are working hard to build America and having children. None of them realize what's actually going on the earth today. It's overwhelming and in your face once you see it, but most people will never be privy to know because they're not interested in this kind of research. Go to my personal website. There are many different websites with my name on them, but they're not my website. I only have one that belongs to me, and it's called Jordan Maxwell Show. And go on my Jordan Maxwell Show website, and you will see a flyer, a little link that says to join my research society. I have a research website on my website. And that research website, you can join it. You have to join it. And it's got all of my research, the pictures, the documents, and the research pages, where to go, where to find all of this stuff that's going on. It's all on my research website that you have to join. Because I was told by my lawyer friend that if you're going to put information out there that could get you in trouble, because you're not supposed to know what's going on, you had better do it privately, because government doesn't care what you say in private. Government only cares what you say to the public, because they are in charge of the public. They're not in charge of private conversation. You better keep it private and have people join to learn what you're talking about.
This is also how I conduct my platform when it comes to our mystery school, because there are certain things that I can't even get into public.
That's
unless
right.
people are ready for a certain level of knowledge, and they have to take the initiation. There's no way around it. And healing, taking it back to the wheat, is number one. This is what needs to happen so that people have the capacity within themselves to process a lot of these things that we're talking about here, let alone learning to discover who they really are and what the trajectory of their true destiny is here in Midgard.
You're right. Yep.
And again, there's no way around the alchemical rites of passage. This is why we need the real to complete what the original overseers sanctioned, man. This wasn't just cast to the masses and then they just have their way for it. This is sacred knowledge. This isn't anything that isn't potentially meant for everybody, but they have to be the ones to want to know it and go through the process and all the trials and all of the crazy supernatural experiences that both you and I have actually experienced. There's no getting away from it.
No. There is no way to gain that wisdom except be interested to try and find out how the world really works. And that's what I've done on my website, jordanmaxwellshow.com. You have to join to see it.
Awesome. I can't imagine the wealth of proper knowledge and wisdom that you've done over the last 60 years, man. That's a lifetime of work. You are to be honored for what you have done. And this is going to continue. What we do, what we encrypt matters here. There's no rival points as far as I'm concerned. Thank you for agreeing to do this with me today. You are networked with many others that I'm in network with as well. Steve Travesty, he had you on his Ghost in the Machine show.
Oh, yeah.
So the networks are expanding. If people want to know the real, man, they're going to have to make investment. This isn't just going to be handed over. And then that protects us in the face of all of this fucking evil.
Most people do not see the value and researching for 60 years. Most people couldn't spend 60 minutes, much less 60 seconds.
60 seconds.
And the world we live in is slowly but surely, systematically being destroyed.
That's a rational observation.
Yes, I can see it. I know what they're doing. I understand the mind control of the CIA and the FBI and the different organizations in government, which are not governmental agencies at all. The U.S. government has poured money into the 3 different organizations, which they can now control because they own the largest piece of stock. The CIA is an individual corporation that has nothing to do with the U.S. government at all. But it has taken the United States' money, the United States corporation's money, as an investment. So the U.S. now controls the CIA because it's the biggest investor. The FBI is not a federal government agency, but the federal government of the United States corporation has invested large sums of money in the FBI over the years. And therefore today, you think of the FBI being part of the U.S. government. It's not part of the U.S. government.
I would say all of those organizations, I mean, you can take it back to MI5 and Dr. John D. are branch-offs of the Dark Priest class where they are doing black ops, psyops, and social engineering. And then the government is just a front.
Because we are no longer the United States of America. We are the United States Corporation. It's a privately owned government.
And your knowledge, getting into admiralty law and all that stuff, very, very important knowledge for people to know. It's so much to work through and realize. I'm still going through all that research, including yours, and it's like, holy shit, my uncle was fucking right.
Yeah.
With all this, Jordan, I want to thank you for coming on to Black Earth Productions. It has been an honor. There's a lot of people, including those that have been initiated into the Blue Flame Healing Arts and Occult Science, that I think would be highly interested.
Yeah, I've got some stuff on that research society that nobody has ever heard. Nobody knows, that will knock you out, that most people do not even know exists. My website is jordanmaxwellshow.com. It costs a few dollars for a lifetime subscription. Only one-time contribution to the show. And thank you for inviting me to be on the show. We can always do another show another time.
Awesome. Sounds good, man. Everybody head on over to jordanmaxwellshow.com and link up to become a member of the research society that he has created. This is something I'm going to do as well. And this is going to be going into a part 2 in the future where I take things even deeper in context of some of the things that we didn't get to today, getting into magic in light of dark sorcery specifically, with the systems of Kabbalah and the Clip-Off, and possibly even into systems that still have to be unearthed. The real question in context of magic is, what is the potential of magic that is there within you to tap into? And if anybody wants to take it there and check out our mystery school, the Blue Flame Healing Arts and Occult Science, head on over to blackearthproductions.com, click on the services page, go through everything, and then email me directly at blackearthproductions@hotmail.com. This has been a very powerful segment, and again, more is coming in the future. And to wrap things up now, there's another poetic opus that I'm going to insert, which once again illustrates everything that me and Jordan Maxwell got into with this segment. Seance for the Serpentine. These are the days. The living dead, living the dream, with a god's eye. Winter forever, no solstice in sight. The sun will die. Blackout forever, the end of light. The sun will die. The death of the sun. The death of the black sun is what this means. This is SETHIKUS BOZA, Black Earth Productions. Be empowered, be encouraged.